Good afternoon and welcome to your May 10th, 2022 Johnston County Board of Education meeting. Ms. Dance, we do have a quorum. We have 5 members present in the boardroom. Ms. Terry Sessoms is on Zoom with us, and Mr. K. Carroll will be joining us shortly. So at this time, I will ask Ms. Terry Sessoms to do our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Johnson.
All right, please stand. Bow your heads. Dear Father, we offer thanks for all the many blessings that you provide each and every day, those that are recognized and those that go unnoticed. We ask that you bring comfort to those who have lost loved ones since our last meeting. As we meet and discuss the life and work of this school system, we pray that you enter into our discussion. May your spirit move in our hearts, opening them to hear what each of us has to offer, bringing light to both possibilities and realities, drawing us always to consider what you would have us to be and do in this time and place. With humility and gratitude, together we offer our time, talent, and treasure to your service and glory. May your wisdom enfold us as we continue to build your kingdom. These things we ask in your sweet and holy name. Amen.
Place the flag. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Yeah, hold on a second. At this time, I would to go into closed session for the purpose stated on our agenda, as well as the attorney-client privilege to discuss a bond forfeiture matter in the state versus Decorus Montel Taylor.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Byrd. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We got to do roll call, you're right. All in favor, we'll do a roll call starting with Ms. Sessoms.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten. Yes. Ms. Andrews. Yes. Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson. Yes. I vote yes. Motion carries 6-0. We'll now enter closed session. Good afternoon and welcome to your Johnston County Board of Education meeting. We have already determined a quorum, had our invocation by Ms. Terry Sessoms. I would like to point out Ms. Sessoms is out of town due to an illness in her family, so she is joining us on Zoom today. And we've had a Pledge of Allegiance, and we've had our closed session. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve our April 5th, 2022 board minutes.
So move.
Have a motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Johnson. We'll do a roll call vote since Ms. Sessoms is not in the boardroom, starting with Ms. Sessoms.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we'll have our discussion and adjustment to the agenda, starting with Mr. Johnson.
No adjustments.
Mr. Carroll. No adjustments. Mr. Byrd.
No adjustments.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes, on item 11B, Roman numeral 4, contract for capturing kids' hearts, would ask for that to be removed from the agenda until further notice.
Okay. Mr. Wooten.
No adjustments.
All right, I have no adjustments. We have a motion to remove contract for capturing kids' hearts. Do I have a second? All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye, starting with Mr. Johnson. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews. Yes. Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Sessoms.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we'll get a COVID update from Mr. Avery.
Good afternoon, Dr. Bracy, Chairman, Mr. Sutton, Vice Chair, Ms. Sessom, and members of the Board of Education. These are our COVID updates. COVID metrics are as follows. We've seen an increase in positive cases from April to May. There's one active staff case on April the 5th, and as of today, there are 6 active staff cases. There are 4 active student cases on April the 5th, and as of today, there are 28 active student cases. All Johnston County public schools and campuses, including transportation, currently in a mass optional setting. Johnston County Board of Education remains required to vote on the mask status. This concludes the COVID-19 updates. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Any
I just want to thank you again, Mr. Avery, for staying on top of this. I know a lot of people are starting to put this in the back of their mind, but your work is a big part of the reason that we're able to remain mask optional. So I do want to thank you and let you know you are not forgotten, and the work you're doing is not forgotten. So we appreciate all your efforts.
Sir, thank you.
Any questions or comments? This is an action item.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we keep the mask optional for Johnston County Public Schools for schools and transportation and athletic events.
We have a motion, second by Mr. Johnson. And at this time, if there's no questions or comments, we'll go to a vote, starting with Ms. Sessoms.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews. Yes. Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Avery. This time we'll get updates from our board committees, starting with Mr. Wooten in the finance.
Mr. Chairman, we are having nothing to share right now, but we are having a Finance Committee meeting tomorrow at 8 o'clock, which is a public meeting at Facility Services to go over our 2022-2023 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. And we also have a special session tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock, full board virtual, to discuss our budget so that we can prepare that and submit that to the county commissioners on time as well. So thank you all for your hard work on the Finance Committee. Ms. Andrews on the Legal Committee.
No report.
Ms. Sessoms on the Policy Report.
Yes, Policy Review Committee will be meeting on Thursday at 2 o'clock in the boardroom, and we invite our public as well as our employees to take a look at the website, our JCPS website, to look at the policies that we are currently under review and provide feedback. We do take that feedback seriously.
Thank you, Ms. Sessoms and the Policy Committee for all your hard work as you navigate through all of our policies to align us with the School Board Association. Mr. Carroll on the Bond Committee.
Could I ask Mr. Moore, are you going to cover this a little bit under your section or no? Okay, fine, we'll cover it now. We do have an update. I will invite Lynn and Mike to help me here because I was absent out of the country at that last meeting. But basically, as all of you all understand, the county commissioners are requesting, they have approved a $177 million bond issue for the public schools of Johnston County. And we will be, it's subject now, I think, to local government commission approval. That should happen, is it June? Does anybody have an idea?
In May.
End of this month, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And at that point, we had presented to them, as everyone knows, $253 million bond request. We had hoped that that would be funded, so over the next 2 cycles, we pretty much, we're on a plan that at the end of the third bond, which would have been in 2026, Johnston County Schools would pretty much have had seats for every student here. We would pretty much eliminate mobile units with the understanding that there are always going to be some mobile units required because of growth in certain areas that we would have to put them there. What our intentions are to make mobile units exactly that, mobile, not permanent. So the board, once we get final, I guess, approval that we do have $177 million, we will begin that point to look at our priorities of what we need to do, high school, elementary. We have proposed a high school, 2 elementaries, a number of additions, and then some additional renovation, upgrades of deferred maintenance, if you will. So hopefully, once we get confirmation of where we are, the board will be able to move ahead with our priorities and additions and some of the deferred maintenance. Lynn, Mike, jump in if there's anything.
No, I think you pretty much hit it up, but I would like to thank the bond committee and the county commissioners for listening to our calls, and I think the 177 will help us touch all areas of the county, and it's important that every school district is helped in the bond referendum and to do the improvements and the new schools and the improvements and the additions to schools to make sure that everybody's taken care of. The perfect world would be to take care of everybody all at one time, but that can't be done. That takes time to do that. There, like Mr. Carroll said, there will always be needs for mobiles in Johnston County. The negative is I don't like classroom environments in mobiles, but the positive of that is that we are a growing county, and education drives the commerce of a county, and I'm proud to live in Johnston County and the relationship that we have with the commissioners to get things done. So appreciate it.
And I think it's fair to say, not to get too far out in front, there are some, the board has been considering some ESSER monies that we want to dedicate to facilities in this county. And we will have a better understanding of what we can do and how much we can do. So with both the county and our efforts to deal with what our situation is, I think hopefully we can move further down the road to accomplishing what everybody wants. And I will say that the county commissioners almost to the person agreed that they wanted to eliminate mobile units also. It's just a matter of all of us being on the same page with the priorities we want to achieve, and hopefully we can continue that road and close it.
Thank you all very much. At this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Furr for our special recognitions.
Good afternoon, Dr. Bracy, Chairman Sutton, members of the board, and Mr. Malone. It's my pleasure to bring our special recognitions before you every month. And for those who are in the room right now, let me first share with you that you are welcome to come behind the board and take photos and do that as you need to. The first set of special recognitions we have tonight are some students who have excelled in academic competitions, and Ms. Dorlisa Johnson is going to introduce them to you.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for having us here this evening. We are so excited to have this opportunity to present our academic competition winners for the 21-22 school year. And we will begin this evening with our high school poetry out loud winners. So if I could have these ladies to come forward over here on the side, that would be terrific. Okay, so we are going to start with Poetry Out Loud, and the first place winner was Courtney Lassiter from Smithfield Selma High School, and second place was Ruthie McNutt, also from Smithfield Selma High. And for original poem, first place was Ruthie McNutt from... I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yes, ma'am. Oh, okay. All right, well, thank you for clarifying that. That is an important detail. All right, thank you. I'm going to make a note of that in here. Perfect. And Ruthie Nutt was the Smithfield Selma High School winner, and then for second place was Courtney Lassiter, again from Smithfield Selma High School. They were coached by Gwendolyn Sullivan, and the competition sponsor and host was Amanda Rowland from Early College Academy. So let's give them a big hand, and you may go around and shake hands. We are now going to move on to our spelling bee winner. So if I have some spelling bee winners, if you could come forward at this time. Thank you. All right, so we're going to get started with elementary. For first place, we had Nyla Conway from West Clayton Elementary School, and she was coached by Adria Smith. Second place, we had Brian Villalone Maldonado, Cooper Academy, and he was coached by Mandy Foss. And then third place, we had Addie Dunn, Four Oaks Elementary, coached by Jill Parrish. If these students could go around, we'll give them a big hand, and you can shake the hands of the board members. Well, and I will say for elementary, it was such a tight competition that they went to a final round where they had to write several words at the very end. So it was a very close competition. So excellent job to all of our students with that. Middle school, do we have a middle school? Come right on up here. Glad to have you. All right, so for first place for our middle school competition, it is a student from Southside Christian School, and that is Caitlin Lee. And she was coached by Mandy Pratt, and we're very excited to recognize her here at our board meeting as well. For second place, we had Ella Searer from Archer Lodge Middle School, coached by Gina Bedford Williams. And then for third place, we had Drew Webster, Smithfield Middle School, and coached by Will Cyrus. If you would like to go around and shake the hands, we'll give you a big hand. And I will also point out to you, I just found out Drew is actually a sixth grader. So that is very impressive. So very high expectations for him for all these years. And you asked earlier, the winning word for middle school was pinniped. Pinniped was the winning word. All right. Our next group that we have, Science Olympiad. So if we can have those winners to come on in here, and we'll move you up to the left. Wonderful.
If we have any parents that want to take pictures, come behind the board, please. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, perfect. And again, parents, feel free to go behind the board members to get your pictures. All right, let's get started here for Science Olympiad, a competition K-12. And of course, these are elementary school winners here. The winners, Polenta Elementary Varsity, first place overall, coached by Kelly Davis. And here are all of the team members. Ava Adams, Sama Alhajah, Lucas Benkin, Christina Bentley, Emma Bowes, Paige Bradley, Clarity Butler, Chloe Cavallero, Jacob Herpy, Bryson Keegan, Carlos Linares, Nathan McGrill, Devin Moore, Isabel Penny, Faith Roy, Katie Stevenson, and Micah Tutweiler. Give these students a big hand. Congratulations. And you may go around and shake hands. Great job. Good job, guys. Nice job. Did we get everybody? All right, congratulations. Yeah. I would also like to give a special thanks, and you'll see their picture up there, to Andy and Wendy Sernavasan. They have been a part of our Science Olympiad for a number of years, and they work very hard to organize it and coordinate it. So we just wanted to give special recognition to them as well. Okay, next up is Battle of the Books, and they can come forward at this time. I love it. Yeah, we can take some folks over on this side too if you want to stand over on the right-hand side. Perfect. Okay, so Battle of the Books for elementary school. And of course, this is Princeton Elementary. For first place in the district, and coaches Cindy Harrington, Lauren Cox, and Anna Smith. So here are all of our team members.
Can I
Connor
interrupt?
Bunn.
Can I interrupt?
Yes, sir.
Parents, if you want to come behind the board and take pictures, more than welcome to come back here. Yes. And if
Yes.
also, if the kids could raise their hand once you call their name so we can recognize them as well.
I'm going to start over again, okay? All right, here we go. Connor Bunn, Abel Sanders, Wade Whitehurst, Macy Rost, Chance Hamill, Stella Langdon, Bristol Deal, Jade Phillips, Willow Kenny, Henry Rosie, and Kyle Gray. Let's give them a big hand, and you all can go right around and shake hands with the board members. Perfect, y'all can go right around here. Good job. Next, we have middle school that we will be recognizing, and I don't believe they were able to be here this evening, but we certainly want to recognize all of their hard work with Battle of the Books. And they were first place for the district and third place regional winners. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and share the team members here. We have Sarah Casado, Tovi Caps, Dominic Carter, Levy Chilcote, Evie Eaton, Ashlyn Farish, Madeline Gwynn, Katie Keene, Xander Montserrat, Aubrey Smith, Ella Springer, Sarah Stanley, and coached by Valerie Kinney. So congratulations to them. And then our next group we have here is for high school for Battle of the Books, and I don't believe they were able to be here this evening, but we are certainly going to recognize them for their hard work. They were also first place district winners and third place regional winners. And the team members from Clayton High School, Hannah Bayard, Calixa Campos, Tyler Dunn, Sarah Duque, Manda Ixenares, Maya Marquez, Brody Pardon, Sakia Parrish, Vanna Quintus, Haley Reed, and Harley Tomlin, coached by Deanne Holcomb. Let's give them a big hand. And the last slide that we have here, it really takes a lot of people to make these competitions happen. Certainly the coaches, the work that they do with all of their students, but there's a lot of volunteers. We have a lot of teams. When we look at Battle of the Books, we only saw some of the teams here, but most of our schools were at Battle of the Books. So a lot of teams were involved and a lot of volunteers to make that happen. I would also like to thank our central staff organizers. You see some specific people who are listed up there: Amanda Bird, Kayla Boykin, Leanne Daughtry, Stephanie Homont, and Mackenzie Yarborough. We really appreciate all the work that they put into making these competitions possible. Certainly Dr. King for all of the support that he gives our team in making this possible for our staff and certainly most importantly for our students. So we really do appreciate that. And one other group I would like to thank, I think most of them are out of the room now, but I do want to thank the parents for all the support that they give their kids, allowing them to participate. And there's a lot of things I'm sure they have to do at home to prepare for these events, a lot of books that they have to read. So I just would like to thank our parents as well. So thank you very much, and thank you for having everybody here tonight.
Thank you, Dorlisa, and thank you to those wonderful students. Next, I have the privilege of introducing Miss Carolyn Ennis, who we all know, but she is an integral part in our school system, and she has someone that she would like to thank with her this evening, who is helping her do some special celebrations for Johnston County Schools' 100th year anniversary. For those who are watching online and don't know, this is our 100-year anniversary as a school system, so she's going to share a little bit more about that and do her introductions.
Usually have to take 2 motions to get up, but I did this time. This is Todd Johnson. If you don't know him, you should really get to know him by going to the Johnston County Heritage Center. He's going to let you see his award. This is an abbreviated story of how K. Todd Johnson is holding up the world of history and heritage of the Johnston County. Atlas was one of the titans, and he was known especially for his extreme strength. He was also known as the God, that's the little g, who held the world on his back. Todd Johnson here holds Johnston County history and heritage on his intellectual back. Our modern day Titan Atlas, Todd Johnson, is executive director of the Johnston County Heritage Center. He helps anyone, anytime, anywhere, and when needed, he calls on anybody else who is knowledgeable to provide facts and information. His knowledge of history is amazingly grandiose. He earned a bachelor's and a master's degree at Campbell University. From May 2014 to the present, he has served as executive director of the Johnston County Heritage Center. His innovations are too many to name. He uses his time and energy to teach others the importance of maintaining, restoring, and preserving our historic properties. We thank Todd for his service as a thorough researcher and the history that he shared on the Corporation of Johnston County Public Schools 1922 to 2022. What he did for me personally, and he does it for anybody, he found all the information I need and put it on a big table. And you know, that was volumes and volumes. Now, my job was to go through it, but I wouldn't have had a clue as to where to start looking if it had not been for Todd Johnson. And that's why I'm sincerely appreciative. Not only that, but he also wants Caitlin and Magina and all the others at the Public Information Office collate our history, and it is great. Not because I wrote it, but it is great. Todd is going to take it to Greensboro to get it hardback, Mr. Britt, for our copies, and the board will get a copy. And it's written so that you don't have to be a good reader. We got a lot of pictures and things. But anyway, Todd is a great asset to not just Carolyn Ennis, but anybody who needs any help historically about Johnston County. Not just Johnston County, but I don't know where else, so you better ask him that. But all the history of Johnston County is down there, and he knows where it is. It is my privilege, and I'm so fond of him, that he took the time to help us get the information we needed about the Corporation of Johnston County Schools for 100 years. So he's going to go around and not high-five, but no, he's got to say something first. And then he's going to show you the gift that is from all of you and all of us and all the parents and everybody in Johnston County who has anything to do with Johnston County Schools. So now speak.
Whenever Ms. Ennis tells me to do something, I do it. I'm almost speechless, but I'm very humbled and very grateful for this honor. I'm a product of the Johnston County Schools. Both of my parents are, all of my kids are, and I'm very grateful for the work that you do, that this board does, and for this wonderful school system. We have a wonderful legacy, and I'm so glad that Ms. Ennis has been able to document some of that legacy on paper in book form, and I can't wait to read it. But I'm very excited about this project and glad that I was able to play a small part in it. But thank you so much for this honor, especially to Ms. Ennis. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Ennis, and thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next, we have a special group of amazing staff members that we want to recognize. The first is Ms. Cherry from West Smithfield Elementary. If you come on up. All right. Thank you for being with us tonight. Ms. Cherry was named the Teacher Assistant of the Year at their organization's annual banquet in April. Teacher assistants, as you know, work alongside teachers to give students additional supports and instruction throughout the school day, and their work is vital to student success. Her coworkers say that she is beyond deserving of the Teacher Assistant of the Year award, and she has given many, many years to our school system. We would like to ask you to please join us in congratulating Ms. Cherry as our TA of the Year. If you want to, I'll hold those while you go shake hands. All right. Here you go. Thank you so much. All right, and up next we have Mr. Gabe Patton from Cleveland High School. And for those of you that don't know, Mr. Patton was just recently named our Outstanding First Year Teacher of the Year. That's quite a mouthful, but he is our VT of the Year. Mr. Patton is a CTE aviation teacher at Cleveland High School. He is also a 20-year veteran of the United States Air Force. He is a lifelong learner who collaborates with other districts, DPI's Career and Technical Education Department, and local universities in an effort to grow and expand their program and generate learning opportunities for students across the state in the CTE aviation program. There were 33 first-year teachers who were recognized for their outstanding performance in the classroom, but Mr. Patton stood out. So we would like to congratulate him on his service and to our country, first of all, and to what he does for our students in the classroom. And I asked him if he would speak, and he said no, that I had to hold the microphone. He did. We watched him do it. It was pretty cool. And last but certainly not least, we have Miss Jennifer Benante from Four Oaks Elementary. Good evening. She was recently named our 2022 Johnston County Teacher of the Year at our annual Flame for Learning Award banquet. Because of the importance of teachers in developing education and developing and educating children, the Triangle East Chamber of Commerce adopted the Flame for Learning Award. Their goal is to support and elevate the teaching profession in the public schools. This award recognizes outstanding creativity and innovation in the classroom, and nominees are selected strictly on merit, without regard to school or residence. Through a blind judging process, 20 semifinalists were selected to move on to the interview phase and submitted a best practice. The 20 semifinalists represented 18 schools from all across the county. 3 innovative teachers were chosen as the finalists for the award: Miss Amanda Ostosky from Smithfield Selma High, Amanda Jackson from South Smithfield Elementary, and Miss Melissa Pierce from Cleveland High. Miss Benante stood out among the entire group, and she was named our Teacher of the Year. She will move forward to represent Johnston County in the regional competition, which is a part of the competition for North Carolina's Teacher of the Year. We're very excited to have her with us and to see what she does for the next school year. Thank you. And our team had the pleasure of getting to know these 3 individuals a little bit better. We have some pretty wonderful press releases, some write-ups on them on our website about all 3 of them. So if you would, take the time and get to know them a little bit better outside of this, we'd greatly appreciate it. Up next is Mr. Brian Petrano.
Thank you, Ms. Furr. Good afternoon, board members. Our classified employee of the month is unfortunately sick and out today, so if it's okay with the board, I'd love to bring her back in June to recognize her. Our certified employee of the month, if you would please come join me. Ms. Nicole Venturini is a 7th grade teacher at Cleveland Middle School. She was nominated by her assistant principal, Ms. Snipes, to be recognized as Employee of the Month, Certified Employee of the Month, and I'm going to share a few of the things that Ms. Snipes had to say about you to the board. Ms. Venturini embodies the vision and mission of the district as a kind and compassionate teacher who genuinely cares for her students. In addition to her teaching duties, she can be found staying before and after school for tutoring, Saturday academy, and even on the court or fields watching her students participating in sports. Her attitude about work contributes to the success of her students and our school daily. She always has an enthusiastic attitude and is willing to be a positive influence and a great role model for her students and fellow teachers. Ms. Venturini recently made a seamless transition from being a kindergarten teacher to a 7th grade ELA teacher. And I would say that is not an easy transition, having been a kindergarten teacher myself. Ms. Venturini is rising above to make a difference at Cleveland Middle School. Congratulations for all you do and for being our Certified Employee of the Month. Thank you. And you're welcome to that. And we have a couple of goodies for you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Congratulations. And her principal was with her. So thank you, Ms. Reynolds, for being here. Thank you, Ms. Reynolds.
And last but certainly not least is our last group of character education students for the school year, which feels kind of crazy to even say out loud. The first student we have is Miss Alexis, or Lexi Adams, a 12th grade student at Choice Plus Academy, where Miss Alicia Hope is principal. Lexi is being recognized for demonstrating perseverance. Despite starting high school on a bit of a rocky slope, Lexi communicated to her family that the traditional high school setting was not the best environment for her and advocated to attend the Choice Plus Academy. Lexi thrives in personalized learning environments and knew that she would benefit from the reduced class size, personalized instruction, and social and emotional support that the Choice Plus Academy provides. Since her enrollment, Lexi has been an honor roll student. Additionally, she has overcome other setbacks and poor study habits to become a successful student and graduating a year early. Lexi will be attending Wake Tech Community College in the fall. Congratulations to Lexi. Next, we have Mr. Aaron White, a 8th grade student at the Innovation Academy at South Campus. Aaron is being recognized for demonstrating integrity. He is a third-year pioneer at the Innovation Academy, and over the last 3 years, it has become increasingly clear that he is an exemplary student who works hard to achieve his personal and academic goals. He is reflective about his learning processes and takes pride in being able to produce high-quality work. He is self-aware about his needs as an individual and advocates for himself in and out of the classroom. Aaron exhibits integrity by being honest in all situations and doing the right thing even when no one is looking. Additionally, Aaron is driven and unique. He is an asset to the learning community at Innovation Academy and serves as a role model for integrity across the entire school. He is a wonderful role model for his peers. Congratulations, Aaron. Next, we have Nick Bailey, a super senior or a 13th grade student at Johnston County Career Technical Leadership Academy, where Miss Sheila Singleton is principal. Nick is being recognized for demonstrating responsibility. He will graduate in May with his associate's degree in applied science and in applied engineering. Like many students, he has worked diligently to achieve high marks in his studies. Above and beyond, Nick keeps a well-balanced schedule that allows him to complete projects and coursework ahead of schedule while maintaining a healthy lifestyle. He follows through on commitments, is always ready to participate in class, plans and prepares his weekly meals, is regimented in his exercise schedule, and helps his classmates. Balancing high school, college, and home life appears easy for Nick, but his silent strength, dedication, and utmost responsibility to his family, teachers, and himself have accomplished his goal. Nick will be attending UNC Charlotte to study architecture in the fall. Congratulations to Nick. Next, we have Raylan Howard, who is also a super senior at JCC, or Johnston County Early College Academy, where Mr. Robert Daniels is principal. He will graduate this year with an associate's degree. He has been a tremendous student with his time at ECA, and this year in particular, he has given a great deal to his school. As the secretary of the SGA, Raylan has worked to address the needs of the student body, plan and decorate for SGA events, and has communicated well to bring the SGA together at meetings. He has been someone that the school can count on to help build the community again after a long time apart. He is invaluable to his school community, and although they hate to see him go, they wish him well at ECU in the fall. Congratulations to Raylan. And lastly, we have a special recognition from JCPS Virtual Academy. Ms. Johnson reached out, who's the principal, and said she had 2 students and she was torn, so she needed to put both of them before us. So we said, absolutely. We're honoring Jayla McClammy and Ella Mercier, 5th grade students who have demonstrated perseverance. Jayla and Ella volunteered to be a part of creating the first ever JCVA yearbook. Neither of them had experience with this type of work, yet they have dove in to learn and ultimately took on the vast majority of the work themselves. They met without fail every Friday via Google Meet to work on the yearbook together, at times with help from other members of the yearbook club, but often just them and the staff advisor. They have done a great deal to outreach to fellow Lynxes for lifestyle photos, as well as to admin teachers to include them as partners for their first year. The perseverance it took to do this while also navigating virtual learning was impressive, not only because they balanced their work with this endeavor, but also because they maintained pristine grades. We are proud of their efforts in this creation and artifact in school's history. Congratulations to these outstanding students. And thank you, board. That's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Furr. At this time, we'll go to advisory appointments. We only have one tonight. Corinth Holders Elementary Principal, Mr. Chad McLam, recommends 3 new members, Kimberly Green, Wesley Quinn, and Morgan Sands, to serve on the Corinth Holders Elementary School Advisory Council for 3 years. So I'll entertain that as the motion. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Carroll. We'll do a roll call, starting with Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Sessoms.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Bracy.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I ask that the board approve consent items numbers 1 through 7.
Motion by Mr. Carroll. Second by Mr. Wooten. Start with a roll call with Ms. Sessoms.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson. Yes. I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Dr. King.
Good evening, board members. This evening, we have a number of items for you, beginning with the CTE local application approval. Coming tonight to make a presentation and share with you information regarding our CTE program, and this application will be Ms. Suzanne Lujan, our Executive Director of Career and College Readiness, along with Reno Palambit, our Director of Career and Technical Education. Now, while Ms. Lujan is approaching, I do want to just take a moment of personal privilege. She did not give me permission to do this, but tonight, I believe, is Ms. Lujan's final meeting with us. She will be moving forward to work at the North Carolina Department of Public Education as, I believe, a regional CTE regional coordinator. Board members, you will be happy to know I've advised her that we will continue to call on her and expect her to answer just as if she was still a Johnston County Public Schools employee. But we do want to congratulate her tonight and thank her for her many years of service to Johnston County. She has done an incredible job supporting the CTE program and really designing and developing a first-rate career and college readiness program for us here in Johnston County. So congratulations on your new appointment, and we will certainly miss you.
Good evening, Chairman Sutton, Vice Chair Sessoms, Dr. Bracy, and members of the board. Oops. Do you have the, there we go, thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce to you Reno Palambit, our Director of Career and Technical Education, who began on July 1st, 2021 in this role. We are pleased to share with you highlights from our Career and Technical Education program, as well as goals and strategies developed in our CTE local plan. This year we had 15,789 students in grades 6 through 12 in Johnston County schools enrolled in at least one Career and Technical Education course this school year. As you can see, our largest enrollment was in Business and Marketing Education, followed closely by Agricultural Education. Our CTE concentrators are students that have completed specific courses within a career pathway. Our three pathways with the highest numbers of concentrators are the agriculture, health science, and human services pathways. We offer approximately 37 different pathways for students to explore and concentrate in our high schools. Credentials are increasingly important in the workforce. Our CTE programs offer over 55 different credentials. This graph shows student attainment of credentials over the last 4 years. We anticipate that we will have quite a few more credentials earned before the school year ends this year. We had 1,674 credentials earned during the fall semester this year. Rebounding from the pandemic and using the fall data as a projection for spring, we should be on track to exceed last year's total credentials earned. The top 10 credentials earned last school year are shown on the left. We had students earn credentials in Microsoft Office products, OSHA 10, CPR, AED, and many more. Our third annual JoCo Works event was held virtually again this school year. With presenting sponsorship from Novo Nordisk, our business and industry partners, our local chambers of commerce, and JCC collaborated to provide a virtual platform for students to explore the world of work. We had 2,633 eighth graders participate. That's 84% of all eighth graders. We collected feedback from students and teachers, and one student said, "One thing I would like to share about my experience at JoCo Works would be that I really enjoyed it because it was very interactive and you had multiple choices on how you wanted to explore a career. It is really cool to see all the career paths that you can take, and it gives you a better visual of what you want to do when you grow up and how to have a good income later in life." Another student said, "I think the experience would be better in person and not online." And we agree. I'm excited to share that next year's JoCo Works will be in person again, and I would like to personally invite all of you to attend. Go ahead and put on your calendar October 13 and 14. It will be at JCC in person. We are continuing to expand our career-focused academies in the district. We will be adding a third National Academy Foundation, or NAF Academy, at Clayton High next year. It will be an Academy of Health Science. Next year will be a year of planning, and the launch year with students will be in the 2023-2024 school year. We have continued to work to increase work-based learning opportunities for students. The pandemic saw employers more hesitant to allow students into their facilities. As we recover from the pandemic, we managed to see 3.4% growth in this area. We had 267 students participate in internship or pre-apprenticeship experiences for course credit. We have continued our strong partnership with Caterpillar and Electricities for pre-apprenticeships, and we are in discussion with our JCPS Facilities Services Department to create an apprenticeship program for the 2022-2023 school year that will grow our own employees for some of our trades positions in the school system. Thank you, Brooke.
We have a goal that every high school student will have a career development plan that is annually updated and leveraged to inform course counseling and career development services. The foundation of each student's career development plan is built throughout middle school and then revisited, refined, and expanded each year while in high school. A robust CDP maximizes students' high school experience and promotes smooth transitions into post-secondary pathways. Our team's CDP work has included providing school staff with the resources, support, and data to reach every student. 82% of students in grades 6 through 8 have a complete career development plan. We facilitate the CDP through Zello and district-created lessons that guide students through our career planning scope and sequence. With 26% of high school students having reviewed and updated their CDP to date this year, we have identified that as an area of improvement moving forward. We anticipate that as high schools continue to scale up this work more, we will be able to identify and promote best practices. But we aren't just waiting until 6th grade to start career development. Our Johnston County Public Schools Career Development Continuum starts as young as kindergarten. Why start early? It's a key time for students to build self-awareness, knowledge of career options, and future goals. 36% of students base their aspirations simply on the people that they know. So the careers of their parents and close working adults take center stage in their career dreams. By 4 years old, many have already prematurely removed certain career options from consideration based on prestige biases and gender stereotypes. Lastly, engaged students are involved, enthusiastic, and committed to school. Engagement is strong at the end of elementary school, providing a critical window of opportunity to draw clear connections between school and future success. Uh-oh. Would you like me to continue? Okay. So the CTE team has spent a great deal of time this school year educating and training school professionals on the importance of career development and the use of Zello. The data that you'll see when the computer reboots on this highlights performance gains in our CDP work, and it is a direct result of the collaboration with our colleagues in student services and the efforts of school counselors, teachers, school administrators, and CTE career development coordinators. I don't think so. It shows how the momentum is building to increase career awareness, exploration, and preparation opportunities for our students. Because of this momentum, we exceeded our CDP completion rate goal for this school year and will realign our goal for next school year accordingly. As we work toward next school year, we plan to promote Zello parent portal engagement, develop strategies to improve and increase completion of CDP district lessons, and increase supports for schools opting to use Zello for course requests. Oh, there we go. Okay. The state and federal government requires a CTE local application that includes a comprehensive local needs assessment every 2 years. The plan does have to be approved annually for budget purposes. We did conduct a comprehensive local needs assessment this year that involved stakeholders from the business community, workforce development, administrators, teachers, students, and parents. We used the results to create the goals and strategies for this year's local application. Part of our CTE local application includes strategies that address the 8 CTE performance indicators. As you can see, we have growth opportunities for CTE concentrators in reading language arts, math, and non-traditional program enrollment, or students in CTE courses that lead to a career that is not typical for students of a student's gender. An area I would like to point out is our graduation rate for CTE concentrators, which is 98.5%. Over 7 points higher than the district graduation rate of 91.1%. As a belated Mother's Day present to the mothers in the room, it has been researched that a person lives on average 18 miles from his or her mother. Because of this propensity to settle close to home, it is important that our CTE program expose and prepare students for occupations and industries within the region. The CLNA indicated that we could tighten the alignment of our program with regional labor market demand, better positioning students as they enter the workforce. Areas for improvement that emerged around program quality included improving the frequency and quality of communication between students and adults around career planning and preparation, improving teaching and learning in CTE through data-driven planning and instruction, student engagement, and credential attainment, and ensuring CTE facilities are safe learning environments with up-to-date equipment, technology, and resources. We plan to enhance stakeholder understanding of CTE career pathways, the experiences available within the pathways, and how they connect to post-secondary options by developing resources, systems, and opportunities that inform employers, parents, and students. The labor market shortages that exist in the private sector extend to the public sector, and staffing of CTE teaching positions continues to have the added complexity of teachers who have the knowledge, skills, and experience to work in the industries for which they specialize. We plan to increase recruitment efforts for CTE positions and increase awareness of how to access CTE teaching positions through alternative licensing. Lastly, the CTE team continues to apply an access and equity lens to our continuous improvement planning, identifying barriers to participating in CTE courses, pathways, work-based learning, and career and technical student organizations, and devising plans to work to overcome or minimize these barriers. For example, how can we work to address the non-traditional program enrollment Suzanne mentioned through targeted recruitment efforts and teacher training? I invite you to follow us on our Twitter, where you can see a lot of the great things our students are achieving and opportunities our CTE teachers are providing. Thank you so much for your time this evening and your support of our CTE programs. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I got a couple of them. Okay, every student is to have a career development plan.
That's the goal that we're working towards, correct. Yeah, this was really our first year of implementation. The goal was devised through the pandemic and remote learning. So I think I would say this year was really the first year that we were able to implement that within the high schools. It kind of builds on the work that we've been doing in our middle school career development program with our 2 part-time middle school CDCs.
Okay, the one slide that said 82% of 6-8 students, so 6-8, it's happening more so than the high school. Okay, who helps students do this?
So it starts with, so we really interface mostly with our career development coordinators at each of the traditional high schools, and then they work within their teams of student services, so school counselors primarily. It can vary the implementation from school to school, where we've seen some strategies around implementation are around in November, there's a career and college readiness week as students are kind of it's a lot of times where there's that college day or that post-secondary decision day that happens in November. So a lot of them will tie it to an event like that.
Thanks.
Others are using some of that enhancement periods that they have in their school to kind of facilitate some of the work.
Okay. The reason I was asking this question is the plan is vital for signing up for courses. So if I'm an 8th grader at a middle school, am I meeting, and as part of my career development plan, the courses that I'm going to take as a 9th grader when I get to high school? Is that part of that, or is that, I'm going back to my days of a transition plan.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So is that what we're doing? Are we mapping out coursework? Or in the 8th grade, you may not know exactly what you're going to take in the 11th grade, but you've got to have some idea if you're heading to a certain direction.
Right, yeah. A 4-year plan is a component of the CDP. So, and additionally, students take career assessments. They save careers and they can create post-secondary goals. So they can create a career goal for after they graduate. So there's opportunities for reflection, for thinking about their aptitudes and their interests. There's a couple different assessments that match them with certain careers. And then the 4-year plan builds on that then. So now that you've thought about what careers you're interested in, then what experiences, what courses can you take in high school that align to that post-secondary goal or to your interests that you've kind of identified throughout middle school?
So our goal is that is done with every 8th grade student before they enter high school.
Correct.
Okay, and then it would be updated. When I'm in 9th grade, it's going to be looked at when I'm in 10th grade. So that do you understand what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
you got to begin with the end in mind.
Well, and as a student takes a particular maybe CTE course or even some of the other courses, they might learn from that experience. A lot of times I tell students, right, it's just as beneficial to learn what you don't want to do as it is to learn what you do want to do. So there's that refinement opportunity.
And that's what we wrote into the district goal as well, is that it would be reviewed and updated annually in grades 9 through 12. And right now, that's what we're working toward, is getting that percentage higher in that grades 9 through 12 of students that have actually.
When you talk about credentials, I think it's important to all of us that every student obviously is not going to college. And this has been something we've talked about quite a bit, the need to be ready to enter a career when I leave high school. And I know we have programs at our community colleges they can follow up with. But when you speak about credentials, I know the credentials you show us here, some of those are just skills that they're learning and they've passed certain credentials. What would you say is this is a tough question, but students that are leaving our high schools, how prepared are they for the workforce? And I know we're going through JOCO Works. I understand all that.
Yeah, I would say that credential attainment is important. There's a couple different ways that you can look at credentials. So you can look at credentials as validating the knowledge and skills that students learned. You can look at them as boosting their excitement and engagement for future opportunities. And there's definitely those credentials that I think definitely open up doors for students. So for example, in the food and nutrition courses, students can get ServSafe Manager certified. A lot of times that means they can access manager level positions within a restaurant quicker. There's other certifications that we offer that could open those doors immediately for certain careers. A lot of times where there's maybe an inhibiting factor in certain age requirements. So sometimes a student has to be a certain age, Right.
We have students who leave us ready to take certification exams in some areas, correct? Right, like CNA, I know many of them take those certification exams. So if I leave that program, we have our fire academy. So that's carpenter. That's what I'm thinking of, is that, you know, we just need to make sure we are, these programs.
Right.
Yeah, and you all recognize Gabe Patton, our beginning first-year teacher of the year. He's offering
I was just going to add too that the state has made a significant contribution towards helping credential students as well. So the last state budget allocated some additional funds to help support that.
And that's vital that the state help us with this and that we have students
Sure.
getting what they, not just taking courses, but getting what you need to go into the workforce.
Precisely.
This is an action item, so I entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Ms. Andrews. We'll do a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Sessoms. I saw her say yes. Mr. Wooten?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Bird?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Vote yes. Motion. You guys.
Thank you.
Board members, our next item is a match wellness grant opportunity. JCPS has been approached with an opportunity to partner with the Match Wellness Foundation in order to provide seventh grade health curriculum materials with more than $300,000. This resource will be provided through grant funding provided by SNAP Ed and Blue Cross Blue Shield Blue. This offer represents an outstanding opportunity as we currently do not have an adopted set of curriculum materials for seventh grade. These materials have been vetted and are aligned with North Carolina standards. We would ask the board for approval to partner with Match Wellness and to receive curriculum resources valued at more than $300,000. Here tonight to answer questions regarding this program, if the board should have any, are Dr. Cherry Johnson, our Director of Research and Grant Development, and our Executive Director for Middle School Education, Mr. Elisa Cowart Johnson.
Sorry.
This program is taught in our seventh grade health classes.
Yes, ma'am.
This is an action item, so I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Andrews, second by Mr. Wooten. We'll do a roll call, starting with Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten. Ms. Sessoms is not with us right now. Okay. Mr. Johnson? Yes. Ms. Sessoms? Yes. All right, I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. King.
Board members, our next item is an information item, and it is the local letters cohort compensation. Board members, you are all aware that the state of North Carolina is requiring all K-5 teachers to sit for letters training over the next 2 years. Prior to the state's establishment of that expectation, Johnston County Public Schools established a local letters cohort. This year, during that establishment, those teachers were advised that they would be paid $1,000 per year for successful completion of this training. This year, 92 Johnston County Public School staff members will complete their second year of this letters cohort training. And board members, this item again is for information, just an opportunity to advise you that we will be preparing to pay each of those 92 staff members the promised $1,000 for having completed the letters training cohort for this year.
Thank you, Dr. King.
Our final item, I believe, board members, tonight will be the beginning teachers support plan. Johnston County Public Schools was recently required to review its 2021-2022 beginning teacher support plan. This review was required in order to ensure compliance with state guidance around beginning teachers programming. In addition to the review, DPI requested that the plan be presented to the board for approval again. There are no program or policy changes to the plan since it was last approved in the fall of 2020. With us tonight to answer any questions you might have about the plan is Dr. Todd Holmes, our Executive Director of Beginning Teacher Support.
This is an action item as well, so I entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Byrd. Roll call starting with Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. Sessoms. I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Good evening.
Mr. Moore.
All right, good evening, board members. DeBracy, Mr. Malone in the back. Tonight, I have two items for you. The first one is the soccer field turf project for Clayton High School. This is the second and final project from the joint agreement between the town of Clayton and the Johnston County Board of Education for Clayton High School. The town and board agreed to replace the existing natural grass playing surface on the soccer field with our artificial turf. The recommendation tonight is for the board to award the project subject to legal revisions of the contracts to Field Turf USA for $389,156.61 for the turf, and Land Concepts LLC for $335,383.28 for the construction. Funding sources is multiple avenues. There's funding, some from the 2018 bond referendum, some from the town of Clayton, also an NFL grassroots grant, and capital outlay funding from the county. This is for action.
This is an action item, so I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor, starting with Ms. Sessoms. She vote yes. Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson. I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0.
All right, my second item is for easements at Swift Creek Middle. Gray Wolf Property LLC has requested two separate easements at Swift Creek Middle School. The first easement, titled Site, Stormwater, and Right-of-Way, requests a site distance easement of 37 square feet, a public stormwater easement of 1,730 square feet, and a right-of-way easement of 440 square feet, all along Norris Road. The second easement, titled Temporary Construction Easement, requests a temporary access for removing and relocating to the grantee's property and an existing sanitary sewer pump station. This easement further requires the sewer service to be maintained for the school and the construction area to be restored following removal of the existing pump station and all associated features. The work of this will be overseen by the Johnston County Public Utilities Department. The recommendation is for the board to declare that the site, stormwater, and right-of-way easement area surplus and not need for school purposes to the extent required to grant the easement, and two, to approve both easements. There are no fiscal implications with these easements. These are presented for action.
This is an action item. I entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Johnson. Roll call starting with Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten,
Yes.
Ms. Sessoms? I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
That's all.
Mr. Petrano? Yeah, you need- Thank you, Mr. Petrano. Take a 5-minute break. We're going to go ahead and start back. Mr. Britt, welcome to the podium.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Bracy. I have two items for your consideration tonight, the first of which being our fourth budget amendment of the year. There are very few changes within this budget amendment, but some of the more significant items are that we did get our summer reading and camp allotment for this upcoming summer from the state, which totaled about $708,000. We also received funds for a recruiting bonus from the state, which would be part of my second item to discuss and get approval for tonight. And we also received additional funds to help reimburse a earlier teacher bonus that we paid previously this year in January that was initially underfunded by the state, but the state was able to come back through and allocate additional funds to help make up that loss.
This is an action item. I entertain a motion for budget amendment number 4.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments? If not, I will start with Ms. Sessoms.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. My last item for you tonight is the request to approve a recruiting bonus that has been part of this previous year's state budget. So as part of session law that was passed in November of this year, and DPI has calculated the how much funding and what the particulars are with that bonus. And so just to summarize a little bit about it, it is a $2,000 bonus that would be paid to all teachers that were hired between July 1 and October 1st of 2021. And so those dates are built into the legislation, and it does require a match. So it would be $1,000 of that bonus would be state funded, and the other $1,000 would be locally funded. And that is part of the budget amendment that we have for this evening. The total local cost would be about $167,934, and it would be paid to 156 teachers that are eligible per the state guideline.
Thank you, Mr. Britt. This is an action item, so I entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Sessoms, second by Mr. Carroll. Any questions or comments? If not, start with Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Sessoms. I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Britt.
Before Mr. Britt leaves, Mr. Chairman, I misinformed the public about the Finance Committee meeting. It's going to be here in the boardroom instead of facility services tomorrow at 8 o'clock a.m.
Thank you. Dr. Pierce.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Sutton, Lady Vice Chair, Ms. Sessoms, Dr. Bracy, members of the board. Tonight we have what I would say the exciting opportunity to share with you some plans for next school year. And so what I'm going to ask is I'm going to ask Ms. Jennifer Lawson, our school nutrition director, who just started with us in mid-March and has taken time to do some reviews, hear our expectations as a county, and put forth some new food philosophies for Johnston County schools for the upcoming year. And so she's going to present at this time.
Welcome to Johnston County.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Bracy, board members. Next slide, please. I'm here tonight to propose a meal price increase for the 22-23 school year, but I would love to first discuss all of the exciting things that we have for the 22-23 school year. Our mission and our goals for our students are to provide the students with the highest quality, most nutritious meals possible to support their overall academic success in the classroom. Thank you. Sorry about that. We want to have a positive influence on all those who come into contact with our school nutrition operations, and doing so by providing great customer service to our students. So we have a team that came together to really talk about what are our food philosophies here in Johnston County Public Schools. And so we came up with these 4 philosophies for the upcoming school year. We want to provide greater access to fresh fruits and vegetables. We would like to provide high quality proteins. And so you're probably asking yourself, what does that really mean? So what you'll see this coming school year is 100% beef products with less soy, and less soy fillers in those products, and you will no longer see pressed and formed patties for poultry products, and you will see whole muscle chicken products. Students will also have cleaner labeled products provided to them, so we have a staff that is dedicated to reviewing spec sheets to determine if those meet our criteria here in Johnston County, and if those are going to meet our no-no list or will be available for our students. And of course, our mission is to provide local products and put that money back into our school system and our local economy. So some of the new concepts that you're going to see moving into the new school year is for the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Snack Program. So we currently have 9 elementary schools that qualified for this program, and we're waiting to hear back from DPI if those sites do qualify or will be accepted for the program. You'll also see more salad bar concepts in all grade levels throughout the district, and product customization. So what that means is more of like your build your own concepts like you would see at a Moe's or a Chipotle. And you'll also see daily vegetarian options for students, and a bid will be released for branded pizza. So that would be a Domino's, Pizza Hut, those types. We'd also like to implement a coffee bar program for our high school students. We're really trying to capture participation in that grade level because we want to bring those students back into the cafeteria. Those students often are traveling outside of the school, off campus, and so we'd like to bring that funding back into the program. And we're going to do so by providing a coffee bar option at breakfast as part of the reimbursable meal to 9-12 students. It'll also be available as an a la carte option at lunch. So we've really taken a hard look at past menus. We've been out into our school system to see what has been offered, and we're looking at offering more on-trend menus. So you'll previously discussed more bar concepts, so build your own burgers, providing more toppings, a baked potato bar. And our menu themes are going to be a Mexican cuisine, Asian cuisine, and Southern flair cuisine. There will also be additional menu options like many of you saw here this evening for our demos. Our demo boxes, our bistro box concepts are going to be a hummus box, charcuterie box, and protein packed box. And those will be in addition to the hot meals that we would provide every day. So those are for those students that might be those picky eaters. We definitely have some of those. I know I do at home. So we'll always offer that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, cheese and crackers, charcuterie type options. So our team has really already started laying the groundwork for the district. And so here you'll see what our K-8 lunch menu will look like. It is a 3-week cycle, and we would like to be very transparent with our community. So you'll see all of our menu options here have an apple or local, or the state of North Carolina indicating what products are going to be local products on our menu, because again, we'd really like to go back to sourcing products within our own community and state. And again, this is the 9-12 lunch menu. You'll see additional options for this population as well. As many of you know, Congress did not provide language in the appropriations bill that would allow all students to continue to receive meals at no cost. Waivers are set to expire on June 30th. Families will need to apply to qualify for free or reduced price meals. So I stand here before you this evening to propose a meal increase for the 22-23 school year. This slide provides a comparison of breakfast prices 3 other districts. 2 have already been board approved so that you have a better understanding of what other districts are looking at for price increases this coming school year. This is also a comparison for lunch prices. 3 districts, 2 have been board approved. Districts throughout the nation continue to experience critical supply disruptions, higher operational costs, and staff shortages. And as you can see here in this slide deck, the state of North Carolina is saturated in that very dark blue color. We are experiencing that here as well. We have not been overlooked. I say this is relevant because that also goes into our increased operational costs. When we have supply chain issues and we have to receive a substitution from our distributors, again, we're spending an increased amount for that substitution. So that does go back into our bottom line. The proposal for the 22-23 school year is for breakfast for PK through 12th grade at $2.25, lunch pre-K through 8th to go up to $3, and for high school students, $3.50. I stress that the proposed rate increase must occur in order for us to offset food and supply costs and state-mandated salary increases that will go into effect in June. The goal of the meal program is not to generate a profit. It is simply to cover our operational costs so that we are not operating in a deficit. And so we're all consumers here in this room this evening, and many of you've noticed this. You go to the grocery store, you get 3 bags of groceries. It's a little bit more hurtful in our pockets lately, right, or at the gas pumps. So school nutrition is not overlooked. We are feeling that pain as well. Thank you.
I do have a question.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Byrd.
Funds to pay the staff and to buy the food. When they don't generate the funds, we have to use local dollars to pay for those things. So it's vitally important that we try our best to cover our costs. I think it's very important to understand as we've looked at this. We've tried our best to get to a point where we can offer a product that people want to go to the cafeteria and eat, and at the same time as low as we can. So sorry about that.
Jennifer, probably due to COVID, we had to do more what you called pressed products. Is that like maybe chicken nuggets? Could you explain to us what that is?
During COVID, we moved more towards prepackaged products. And so the vision is to move away from that and have a serving line. You know, students are very visual, as we all are, when we're looking at our food. So we want to move away from those prepackaged products and more towards that option. When I was discussing poultry, we would move away from pressed and formed. So that is much of what it, describing. It's very thin pressed patty. And so what we would be moving towards is a whole muscle chicken breast product. And so much of what you'd see at like your local Chick-fil-A.
One other comment as well. You notice you said also on June 30th, the program is currently in place now that all students are able to obtain free. Will we make sure we notify those parents that may be eligible for free and reduced? Will we do that prior to them leaving school and also at the beginning of next year as well? Is that our plan, to be able to make sure they're well aware that they would need to apply for free and reduced next year?
Absolutely. So we are already starting that process, and Mr. Watson will be presenting on that later as far as what our efforts will be during the summer months to communicate that with parents in the community. Yes.
I just wanted to reiterate what Dr. Pierce was saying. They are run as a separate business, nutrition is, and however, it's not a profit center. So all they're trying to do here is just break even, and they'll be satisfied. So they're not looking to make money. We're not a profit center anywhere in the school system. So just breaking even is the reason for the cost increase.
I agree. And as I said in our board agenda review last week on Thursday, you know, you go to Hardee's, McDonald's, any of those, they have increased their prices. And what we've experienced tonight with the little bistro boxes and other items, you know, I'd be more than happy to pay $3.50 and get a well nutritional meal versus going to McDonald's or Hardee's, where you can leave the fries under your seat in your car for about 2 months and they're still going to look like a French fry. Yeah. And the other thing I would like to say is we want to buy local, and I think that's important, that we have a lot of farmers and people that sell produce and different items here in this county, and I think that's critical that we do buy local. So I appreciate that, your charge on that as well.
Talk about the financial aspect of it, and, you know, here we're always talking about, you know, intelligence, competency, and how we're going to educate kids, and mental health and how important that is. But if you look at actual physical health, this is a great stride in the right direction because, you know, not to be cheesy, but being healthy is being wealthy. I believe that was said like in the 1800s. And if we're providing these students with, it is cheesy, thank you, Mr. Carroll. When we're providing these students with better options, you know, a healthy person is a more productive person, and we certainly don't want to contribute to a poor diet. And, you know, historically, I mean, I love Fiestada pizzas. I love those processed chicken nuggets. I could eat them all day, but we got to look out in the best interest of kids. And I know we say it's $1 at most, it looked like 90 cents, but Dr. Bracy, I would really love to have something set up, and I know our principals are super awesome about this. If there is a child or a family that's in need, they always provide for them. But I would love to have something set up, like a channel or an outlet for any family who could not maybe afford this increase, because, you know, you start looking at, you know, $70, $100 a year. I know some people may laugh at that, but that can really impact those who are in the middle, who don't qualify for free and reduced lunch, and who, you know, might be too proud to ask for it. You know, whatever the reason may be, I would love for something to be set up like that. But I did have an opportunity, ma'am, and welcome to Johnston County Public Schools. And you've done a great job in there. I hope the quality stays the same as it transitions to our cafeterias, because I know, you know, you go somewhere opening night and you get the bistro presentation, you get all that. But I hope that quality level doesn't lose this enthusiasm when it makes us down to our kids.
Do we have an idea how many of our families in the school system should and would qualify for free and reduced? And I guess one of the questions, is it fairly liberal in terms of reaching the populations that we need to reach to provide them with this meal?
We don't have good, strong data right now because families haven't had to apply for meal benefits in over 2 years. They've received meals at no cost through those waivers from USDA. So we do not currently have good data for that. Previously, 2 years ago, we were at around 30%.
Usually around 30%.
Prior to the pandemic.
Yes. Well, one of the things I had been told, especially at the high school level, is that children were hesitant to encourage their moms and dads to apply for that for, you know, obvious reasons. They don't want don't want to be singled out or looked at or have to say a show card. Do we have a process in place that when you come through that lunch line, everybody goes through and it looks, you know, there's no real obvious thing that, whoa, something's different here?
Yes. Yes.
That's what they're doing. Right now, they're putting ID numbers in when they go.
It is all confidential. Mm-hmm.
Card out and all this kind of stuff. So we don't want children to be hesitant or embarrassed or
Yes, it is a confidential experience, and we try to make sure that that's not true.
I think that's important. And I'm hoping they all understand, parents will understand that. So we will attract and enroll the folks that are deserving of this kind of help.
Well, say too much here, but you know, everything, the price has gone up. We're looking out for the kids. I just got a text message that said the teachers might have a little bit of trouble. So we're hoping that when we go into this local budget, maybe our county commissioners hear that. And since everything else is going up, maybe their pay will go up. That would be a little bit straightforward and intellectual in that thought process.
Yeah, this is an action item, so I entertain a motion.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Byrd. Roll call starting with Ms. Sessoms.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson. Yes. I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we transition, phenomenal job, Jennifer, but I want to say this. We have school nutrition employees every single day that are serving our kids, and they probably very rarely get told how much we appreciate them, and I think it's very important to share how much we appreciate them, and that vote will make a difference to them, I can promise you, starting July 1st as well. So thank y'all so much, and we appreciate all that they do.
Well, we appreciate the food that they bring to us on a monthly basis, and also the special occasions. You know, Flame for Learning did an outstanding job, and other occasions across the county. So we really appreciate that, Jennifer. Make sure you let your staff know how much we appreciate them and all that they do for our school system.
Lunch there, and just to see your staff, I mean, as soon as they clear the tables, they're in there cleaning them. I mean, they're just, you know, it goes beyond what you really can describe in words, the commitment they have.
They're very hard workers.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Board members, at this time, I'm going to start our presentation for our transportation procedures. You know, two meetings ago, we talked about transportation, and the importance of why we are looking at this is very important to be shared. It has been this board's sort of pursuit to see what we can do to end the policy of duty to drive. All of our decisions and all of our presentations today, and our presentation today, although we do care about the bottom line and money, this really has to do with the duty to drive and who we require to drive, and how do we get out of a policy where we're required to hire people to be a teacher assistant, school nutrition employee, custodian, but they also are required to drive a bus as well. And so our board policy currently sets forth that expectation. And so tonight we're going to share some things with you about ways that we feel we can work towards this, and also ask you to take under some recommendations for approval to do that. So this time I'm going to call up Mr. Marlon Watson. He is our Executive Director of Transportation, and Marlon has been with us since January. So during his short time here, he has spent quite a bit of time. And so, Marlon, come on up.
Good evening, Dr. Bracey. Good evening, members of the board. I don't think I've been this nervous since the last time Miss Andrews made me stand in front of the class. So, okay, all right. Just up and down? Okay, to the right, all right. So I wanted to share with you some transportation stats before we get into the presentation. Currently, we have 231 regular buses that are operating daily. We have 47 EC buses that are also operating, giving us a total of 278 total buses that are running each day. Total runs is 968 regular runs, 35 midday runs, 146 EC runs, and we also have 62 cab contract runs as well. We also contract with parents, and they currently have 56 parent contract runs. Staffing on buses. We currently have 540 current staff members that are licensed to drive out of 758 classified employees. We have 81 driver-onlys, or full-time drivers, as some may call it, 66 sub-drivers covering vacant runs daily. We also have approximately 144 medical exemptions and 478 total employees needed to make our buses run each day. The goal for us in transportation, as Dr. Pierce stated, is to decrease the need for dual employees in the school system, also to increase the efficiency rating with the state. Also, we would like to try to remove any barriers of recruiting and retaining classified staff in the school. So transportation sent out a survey to gather feedback and also gauge the atmosphere of our dual employees. And so from that survey, we received approximately 364 responses out of 427 surveys. And so just briefly giving you some of the information that we received or we gathered from the surveys, one of the questions was, in what capacity do you serve at your site? 71% or 73%, 73.9% are instructional assistants, 9.6% school nutrition staff, 9.1% is custodian, and 7.4% is office support. Also from the survey, we asked if the current policy 7445 was removed or revised, would you still continue to drive a bus for JCPS in addition to your other responsibilities? Overwhelmingly, well, not overwhelmingly, I'm sorry, wrong set of words. 46% said yes, they would be willing to drive. 47% said no, they would not be willing to drive. If a driver-only rate would reach $17.50 per hour, and this was one of the survey questions as well, would you want to become a full-time bus driver with benefits? This would mean that you no longer serve in your current classified position, but will become a full-time school bus driver. 91.2% stated no, and 8.8% stated that they would. Approximately 32 drivers were willing to take on a job as a driver full-time if the driver's salary was increased. Also, what would influence your decision to become a full-time bus driver with benefits? 19% said nothing, and then 26% said an increase in pay. Given the opportunity to no longer be duly employed, would you rather remain in your current position without the duty to drive? 50% stated that they would rather remain in their current position. 42% stated that they would remain in their current position and continue to drive and receive pay for both. And a small portion stated that they would be driver-onlys. So in order to achieve our goal and to reduce the number of dual employees, we would like to suggest driver pay increase. Also, we would want to try to reduce the number of driver vacancies by, looking at combining buses, things of that nature. Also, hiring a recruiter and safety trainer, and also changing our hiring process. Recommendations. We would like to increase the driver-only pay to $17.50 an hour. Implement a monthly perfect attendance and safety bonus of $100. And just for background or history, we currently have a perfect attendance and safety bonus currently, and it is being paid yearly versus monthly. Also, we would like to see driver-onlys go to a bi-monthly pay. Any questions before we reach the next?
That bonus that you spoke of that's paid is paid annually now, is that $1,200?
So the bonus that we currently pay annually is $500. And we're asking to increase that to $1,000 and spreading that over 10 months because currently that bonus is being paid at the end of the year. And if we can spread it over 10 months, if you miss a day in, let's say, September, you have another opportunity to cash in on that bonus in October.
Thank you.
Remain both classified and driver. What number of people is that?
That was out of that 364 responses that we received.
150, yeah.
I'm sorry.
So it was
So it's 42% of 364.
It's 154 people.
154 would like to continue.
Okay.
Mr. Watson, could you also go back to the slide? I think it was 83%. Was that? Yeah. Could you give us a little bit more information on that? that most wanted to did not want to become full-time? Did I interpret that correctly?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Current staff now, 83% said they did not want to become a full-time driver with benefits.
So what was stated was, if we revise the current policy, would you want to continue to drive a school bus for JCPS in addition to your other job responsibilities in order to receive pay for both jobs? 46% said yes, 46.4% to be exact, and 47% said no.
I thought it was another slide that lists, I think it was like 80% you had mentioned.
Yeah, 91.2 said they would not leave
Yeah,
for this.
the
Only
pay is not
32 of the
related
ones
to it.
applied said that, but later on, there's a survey question, they said the pay is what would get them out of the classroom, but 1750 won't enough.
Any other questions?
So we 140 licensed drivers a day? No? How many licensed drivers a day do we need?
So currently, it's taken us 478 licensed drivers to maintain our routes.
To maintain the routes?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. And if we had all driver-onlys, currently we have 278 routed buses. So we need 278 full-time drivers as well as a pool of subs to be able to pull from.
So the goal here, sir, is to, so that we can, at some point in the near future, that we would be able to do away with the policy that would require our classified staff to have a CDL and drive a bus if needed, correct?
Yes, ma'am. The goal is, yes, ma'am.
And,
Okay.
and I would add to that, well, we all know that dual employment is taking classified staff out of their schools during the school day. There's no way you cannot, the way we run our buses, so.
And that's why the number of 478, I know it seems like crazy math here, but 478, that's why the number's so high versus if we did driver only at 278, because you have a group that drives in the morning, they have to go work in their classroom, a group that drives in the afternoon. You're talking about people who are getting on buses at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, they're driving their routes, then they're going to teach all day. You can't put them on there to drive again, although some are doing that, and driving until 6 o'clock at night.
So if I added up right, we have 81 full-time bus drivers right now.
Correct.
We have 32 who have said that they would be full-time bus drivers.
Correct.
So theoretically, we've sort of got 113 right now. I mean, that's if everybody stayed doing what they're doing right now. Is that?
If they move to driver only.
Right, if those, I mean, why wouldn't we do that? We would.
After tonight's board vote,
Right,
they chose
right,
to, yes, we
right.
definitely would.
Yeah, okay.
They've had the opportunity to do it prior to now, and they haven't, correct?
No, they have not. But yeah, so they've had the opportunity, but remember, it's at the $15 an hour currently.
Right.
Well, first of all, this has been a path forward, is to be able to do away with this policy. So I want to thank you for the work, the effort that you put into this in surveying staff, gathering data. This gives us a lot of hope, and I appreciate all of your effort in that direction.
That I think will be important to share, and then to Ms. Sessoms' point, we're going to share some things of how we could get to possibly removing the policy. But tonight, we will not be able to remove the policy with only 81 driver only. But we will share some things tonight that can get us there, hopefully.
Mr. Watson, just before you start, that $17.50, that's the beginning salary?
Yes, sir. That would be the
That could
starting
go up if you have more experience. Would that go up?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. It'll be part of the budget request that we will discuss.
For our classified.
Yes, ma'am.
And not to belabor this point, but industry has came to Johnston County, so you're gonna have to at some point come up from the 1750 to compete with your Amazons and people who are gonna be looking to steal our employees from us. So this is a good start, but over the years, we're gonna have to get this pay up in a continual manner because we're gonna lose employees to other industries in the county.
That's part of the reason we also recommending the bi-monthly as well to be more competitive.
And that's also the same is said for teacher assistants, Mr. Johnson. We got to get their compensation up as well if possible.
Public that in order to do that, that money comes from local dollars, from our county commissioners, and, which we desperately need to be able to do things for our own employees.
And school nutrition and custodians. Didn't want to leave anybody out.
Right, and I would just like to add that, you know, the county commissioners saw a need to increase their salaries for all of their employees as well. So, you know, to keep them employed in Johnston County versus these other industries that are coming into town. So we need to do the same thing.
But we're gonna make a commitment right now. We're not raising our salary, right? That's correct. All right.
So because we have a driver shortage, we were asked to look at different ways that we could help to, offset some of the vacancies and some of the shortages that we're currently experiencing. And so we looked at the application schools, and we wanted to make a recommendation to the board, not a recommendation, but give the board some options to look at as far as moving some of your specialty programs to a hub model. And so this will definitely reduce the need of drivers that are currently needed. And so we are presenting 3 options, and in those options, and I'll just go through each one at a time. First, let me give you some of the data that we collected as we, kind of looked at this and explored it and entertained it, some data that we collected from parents. And one of the questions that we asked in the survey was, please indicate the special program your child currently attends. And so out of 1,200 families, we received 480 responses, and majority of those responses we received were from Innovation Academy, as well as early college was like 24.8%, and Innovation Academy was 36.5%. And then we received 14% responses from Avid. The next question is, does your student currently ride a school bus to get to their special programs in the morning to these programs? And 83% of our responses from families responded yes, 16.9% responded that they did not. Does your student currently ride a bus to get home in the afternoon from their special program? 86% stated yes, and then 14% stated no. Would you be able to provide transportation for your student to their base high school in the mornings to allow them to receive transportation? 76.9%, the answer was no, and 23.1% was a yes. The next question, would you be able to provide transportation for your student from their base high school in the afternoons? 81.8% of the families stated that they could not, and 18.2% stated that yes, they would be able to provide transportation. So here are the options that we have available for you tonight. The first option, in option 1, this would decrease the number of drivers by 32. And in this option, students would find transportation to their designated location that we would choose, such as a base high school. And then from the base high school, we would transport them or shuttle them from the base high school to their special program. Some of the things that logistically that we're looking at in this option is that it would be, the ride time would be much shorter than what it currently is. It would go from 108 minutes to an average of 44 minutes. Also, the number of runs that we currently have would go from 62 to 30. And then the cost analysis, the current model that we use is 2.3 million, and it would be reduced significantly to $511,000 and potential savings of 1.8 million. In option two, we would actually pick kids up at their current location or their current stops. They would ride their bus to the home or base high school, and from the base high school, we would shuttle those kids to their special programs. In the afternoon, they would have direct runs home. In this model, in this model, you would have some schools who bell times would have to be adjusted in order to make this model work. The cost analysis for this model, the projected cost for this model would be 1.4 million, which would render savings of about $900,000. And then option 3 would be to leave things the way that they are in the current model.
So let me get clarification here. Is the pay increase and this option 1, 2, and 3 all coupled in one motion or one action item or no? Okay.
Board members, at this time, we'd like to bring for you to make a decision between option 1, 2, or 3. Understanding that these options have only been put in place for saving drivers. We put the cost analysis there, but that should, that should not be the weighing factor we would ask in your decision making. What we would say as transportation is that you currently already selected option 1 that was presented on the screen. That was already voted on. That's where we currently would be next year, okay? Option 2 is the option, but there are several different layers here that would be adjusted, and transportation would suggest, if you're not willing to stay with option 1, that you would choose option 3, okay, for the sake of our district's just stability as we move forward this soon into the fall. So at this time, we would ask the board to take that up as an action.
I would think option 3, going back to option 3, would be the right thing to do, and then to give us time to properly communicate what really needs to happen for the hubs at a later time. But I just think I think it's better to go to yes.
While I want to do what we can with pay raises and hiring a recruiter and doing whatever we can to get more full-time drivers, I just don't believe that from an equity standpoint that we should try to do this on the backs of students. I feel like that we go with option 1, we are penalizing students from being able to participate in our application programs, and I'm not good with that.
Do we have motions on the floor? Okay, all right. Let me ask this: this is dialogue.
Yeah.
How many? I've asked this before, but how many buses do we have currently that do not have drivers?
I want to say 27.
Okay, how many students? These are not the. I'm just making a point here. I like to do that. Not the drivers of these buses to these special programs, but we've got 27 buses out there. How many students would you say average on each bus? 20?
I wouldn't be able to tell you that information off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
25?
Say 30.
30, okay, well, my point, and how many students are we transporting with our application programs?
661.
My point is and I'm okay with I'm okay with remaining in option 3. But my point is that we have students who live in their school district and their parents want them to go to school in their district, and they are going, but they don't get to school on time. They're getting to school late, of no fault but anything that we don't have enough drivers. We have students that are getting, and I'm not blaming the transportation department, I'm trying to defend the actions here, is that we're not getting students to their schools on time because we're short of drivers, while we are not looking at a program that would help us get kids to school on time. So I'm okay with remaining as we are right now. But if we are in this situation in the fall, we have to look at something different for the next year, because we need to get children. Am I making sense? And no, I'm just saying, if I live in Corinth Holder Elementary and my bus, I don't have a driver, so I get to school at what time? Sometime I don't know if it's Corinth Holder, 11 o'clock. We got kids not getting to school till 11 o'clock, and we're worried about getting kids to application programs. We need to make sure we're getting kids to their home schools. We owe that to those kids as well. That's my point. So I understand we can't change this right now. We have students already been accepted to these programs. Parents are planning on transportation. But we got 38,000 students out there that we owe transportation, or the need of transportation to. So that's just my point there, is that we need to keep that in our minds, that we got kids not getting to school till 11 o'clock right now, and it's May the 10th.
That's the perfect reason to go into option 3 until we get it figured out.
Well, but those kids are still not going to get to school till 11 o'clock. Right. Under our current option, we still have students that we're saying it's okay for you to get to school at 11 o'clock, but we're going to make sure that these kids come from out of district into another school area by choice, but you in your school, living in your neighborhood, can't get to your neighborhood school on time. I just think we have to think about that.
We can increase the pay, and if we have a recruiter, I think that's going to improve getting more drivers, period. And as Mr. Wooten said, by choosing option 3, that gives us a bit more time to plan this thing correctly.
I agree. I'm not advocating for option 1 right now. I'm just saying that I want us to keep in mind that transportation is doing everything they can do. But if I was a parent and my kid wasn't getting to school till 11 o'clock to their home school, I'm going to be upset.
Go back to the point of you've got 70+% that couldn't even get to the application schools. If that's the case, then we might as well do away with the application schools. And I don't think that's something that any of us.
I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying keep in mind the whole story, the whole picture here.
Yeah, well, we've hired a man that's going to fix it.
Right.
So
he had a great 6th grade teacher, and he's going to get it done.
So we've had a lot of dialogue, and our current system going into a routing system going into next year is option 1 at the present time. If we do want to do away with that and go back to option 3, which is our current model, we need to have a motion to go to option 3. So I just want to let everybody know.
So moved.
All right. Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Johnson. Any other questions? And that motion is to go back to our current model. Let's make that clear. We're going to go back to our current model for the upcoming school year. So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments?
It goes back to what we've belabored for the last 3 months, is that everything's increasing, and the pay is going to have to come up to match that. I don't care how good of a recruiter you get. If you're paying $17.50, I still think there's going to be challenges to getting these spots filled, which is going to create challenges for transportation, which will keep us in a position where these kids are still getting in school at 11. So, yeah, we need to get. Yeah, we've got to figure this out.
Question, Mr. Chairman. It was my impression that we had instructed Dr. Pierce to bring us options, to explore options. We never, did we actually say we were going to choose them all?
In our 2 meetings ago, we did vote as a board unanimously to go to the hub option So in order for us to transition back to our current model, we need to go ahead and have a motion to do that, which we've got a motion and a second so far.
Okay.
Have the drivers.
Until we have the drivers to look at it going forward to a hub model.
Hopefully that won't be needed.
Right.
Because we'll have enough drivers.
Okay, now we're looking for the trainer, the recruiter.
Yes.
Explain to us and the public the
Hold on.
value of a recruiter.
We need to finalize that motion before we can go to that. Yes. All right, so any other questions or comments on this motion?
Repeat the motion.
The motion is to return to our current model, Model 3, Option 3, for the upcoming school year. There it is. Basically stay just like we are in this school year. Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll start with a roll call vote with Ms. Sessoms.
Yes.
Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Watson, go right ahead, sir.
Okay, now to address the question that Mr. Carroll had. Regarding a recruiter / safety trainer, the purpose for that will be to actually track what avenues work. And what I mean by that is currently I know we advertise on our on our JCPS website. However, having a recruiter in place, we can use different avenues, but we can also track what works. You know, if we decide to put it out in the News of Observer and we get responses, then we're able to track it. Also, with the recruiter, they're able to schedule classes, schedule training that, you know, many of the employees need, you know, to make them better employees and more efficient. But having a recruiter will really, really help. Since my time in Johnston County, I actually went onto a website, which is Indeed, and I didn't really know about this website. So me being an older person, not saying I'm old, but being an older person, I would actually go over to the Employment Security Commission to look for a job. However, when you talk to the teenagers and your younger clientele, they're using different sites such as Snag a Job, such as Indeed, Monster. These are things that we wouldn't know unless we talk to kids that are actually surfing these websites. But when I went on Indeed, to make a long story short, I did not see any advertisement for Johnston County Public Schools Transportation Department hiring of bus drivers. And if we're going to tap into that clientele, then I think we have to have someone that's actually engaged in that duty each and every day. So that's the purpose of having a recruiter / safety trainer.
And you've seen this work in other systems effectively?
Most of your larger systems, and Johnston County is by far a large system, does have a recruiter and safety trainer. Yes, sir.
I got to ask one more question. I met with an advisory council, West Johnston, and, you know, they were asking about all the issues, bus drivers, our sanitation, the people at the janitorial, in the schools to keep our places clean. There were two questions that they asked me. They pretty much said, why don't we use student bus drivers anymore? Can we give a public answer? Is it possible or is it prohibited?
So student bus drivers, you have to be 18, and typically at that age, you're either graduating or you're still in school. And so even if you're 18, you have to have at least 6 months of experience in order to drive a school bus. And so I think the rules and the requirements and the regulations have certainly changed from the time that I was in school until today.
Okay, that was a question I think we needed to find out. So basically that would drop the potential pool of students in the high school to basically nil, if we will.
Yes, sir.
But it wouldn't stop us from recruiting some of our seniors to come back and maybe drive when they're out of school.
That is correct.
I mean, if they, you know, I'm talking about postgraduate.
Right, if they fit the criteria, yes, ma'am.
Criteria, right.
What we hear all the time is a driver might be interested in driving a school bus, but the problem is DMV or getting CDLs in a efficient time, is that still gonna be a big hurdle for us? We gotta have 100 bus drivers and going through the process of getting CDLs through DMV. Are they gonna have programs for school systems to get these people through, or are we gonna still run into that problem?
We're still going to have some of those issues. I think with the new hiring practices that we're proposing, at least the people that we're training, we know that they are coming to be a bus driver and they're not a dual employee that don't want to drive a bus.
Mr. Watson, does the increase in compensation come from PRC 56?
Yes, sir.
I know that Mr. Britt and you've been together and talked about 1750. Is that the maximum you're comfortable starting with right now?
Yes, sir.
Understood. So if that were to increase some more, you would need a commitment from this board from local dollars, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do we have that commitment?
Not right now, you don't.
We don't know how much it'll be, or do we not have a,
I thought you had it built into, do you have it?
you know, how much
I'm
it gonna
talking
cost?
about-
How much are we projecting?
I'm talking about exceeding 1750. We haven't had that conversation.
We have it in our model.
What he will present tomorrow at the finance committee and at the budget work session will be 1750 and the new compressed schedule, which has local dollars. Yes. Yes.
But you asked me to vote on a financial impact today, that I don't have that answer.
What are you talking? What?
1750 we're good for, right?
1750. He's
1750 we're good for.
Yes. Above 1750. And my last point, Mr. Watson, I would like for you to come back in October and give the board an update, snapshot of where we are. Your recruiter should have been in place for a little while then, just where we are as far as vacancies, buses not being occupied by drivers. So it would allow the board to have that conversation. Perhaps once they get that information, we can come back in December, November, January, and have a recommendation for them on which one of these options they want to choose going forward for the 23-24 school year.
Yes, sir. So the recommendation that you see is just, a process for recruiting or processing full-time drivers or driver onlys. And this recommendation is also processing drivers that already have their CDLs with the P&S endorsement, with the school bus and passenger endorsement.
We talked about this earlier, though. You're able to hire with the CDL backlog. You'll be able.
So I think one of the things that's important to share with you on the two slides that Mr. Watson just shared is currently our model is a little backwards. We hire you, then we find out if you can drive. We want to change that model. We want to see, can you drive? Can you pass a DOT physical? Can you get through some of the criteria, sort of like a pre-employment screener, then hire you. What you're also going to see, me and Mr. Watson are really working our magic. We're going to come back to the table and share jobs with you that these people can do day one before they have a CDL license. And so you're going to see us coming back to the table, sharing with you, maybe doing our own van service or doing our own shuttle service so we can go ahead and put these people to work while we're waiting for them to get CDLs. And so with Mr. Watson's experience, I promise you there's some other things we're cooking on that don't have all come together. But the most important part is when we hire you, we've hired you because you want to drive, not we've hired you because you want to do something else and you're made to drive. And right now we're sitting on, Mr. Petrano, I may be wrong here, but we're sitting on 21 employees that if we held to the policy right now, that they're not meeting the policy. So therefore we would need to say that your job ends with us on June 30th because they're not meeting their requirement as a driver. Most likely they didn't take their job because they wanted to be a driver. They took their job because they wanted to do the other job that they're part of. So we're trying our best to show you a different way to go about it. And in the process of hiring driver onlys, that hopefully would be the place. So to Ms. Sessom's point, we want to propose to you all tonight an amendment that we would make to the policy. It would go to policy review for a final wording, but we would implement a sliding scale for the duty to drive policy. And basically at the end of the day, once we get a certain number of driver onlys, we would then start decreasing the number of employees in school settings that have to be duty have dual employment or the duty to drive. And so, for instance, when we get to 120, we could decrease that by 10%. We very easily, before we start school in the fall, could be able to go back to schools and say, hey, your head custodian or certain people in the building don't have to, because we could be at 120 quickly, potentially. I think after that, it's going to be a push, but in working with Mr. Watson, the other thing we've realized is our other large districts, guys, they're figuring this out. They've got driver-onlys at high numbers. They still have driver shortages. Let's be very clear about that. But they do have some driver-onlys, and their pays range is somewhat different at times. So this would be our proposal for the current goal of 280 drivers, and this is without growth. Understanding it might be 290 that's needed next year.
I like the approach, the measured approach. I think we would harm ourselves if we ripped the Band-Aid off tonight and said, do away with the policy. I think based on just the survey results themselves, and we all want to get there, and we will get there because of what you and Mr. Watson have told me. All the large districts have figured it out. And we just have to be creative, think outside the box.
So the last few things here that I want to share with you is just some potential outcomes that I think you need to be aware of before you do the final motion. And that is that more dual employees will continue to be needed if we cannot hire enough driver-onlys. So until we meet the criteria, we're still going to have to hire people as dual employees. There's no way around that, or we will have buses, more than 27 buses parked. Staff will still need to be pulled from schools, even with driver-onlys, when we're in need of subs. We're going to need some we're going to need some dual employees at schools just for safety features. If we need to evacuate a campus, we can't get our driver-onlys there fast enough, we're going to need some of those. Some school staff will lose money when we move to driver-onlys, and I think that's important to put out there. Right now, you have many school staff that are getting upwards of 20 hours a week of overtime driving a bus. And as we go to driver-onlys, their pay will go up in their job they're doing because they'll be able to be at their job longer, being a TA or what have you, but that overtime piece will change. We've heard from some other districts that the connection between school and discipline and communication will be an area we need to work on and try to make seamless. And then there's several others there, but I think the last one that I want to make very clear is that we will have staff who drive buses as dual employee not making the recommended $1,750. Tonight's recommendation for $1,750 is for a driver only, not a dual employee. Okay, we have to do something to make people want to be a driver only if we want to get rid of dual employment, and so that is important to be shared. So at this time, before we share the last information, the recommendation before you is the pay increase of $1,750.
This is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion. Restate that, Terry.
I move that, I'd like to make the motion that we approve this pay increase for drivers only.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Sessoms, second by Ms. Andrews. Any questions or comments? Roll call, starting with Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews. Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Sessoms. I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Watson, and welcome to Johnston County as well, and all your hard work you've started already.
Then last but not least, I think it's important, I didn't mean for this to be in two motions, but I think we have to put it out there to make it right, and that is the monthly safety bonus and the bi-monthly pay. We would like to move to do that as well for driver-onlys.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Wooten. Roll call vote, starting with Ms. Sessoms. Mr. Wooten. Ms. Andrews. Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson. I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0.
So last but not least, this is our first night of making sure that it's very loud, that we do not want to start next year like we did this year, right? Everybody here give me an amen on that, right? And so our transportation, school nutrition have worked very hard in making sure that we can let parents know either their school nutrition applications to be completed or that they'll have transportation on the first day by doing a summer information fair. And so these will be offered this summer for upcoming school year information. This is going to reduce the need for parents to be at the open house to actually request this. They can just go to open house and not stand in a 2-hour-long bus line to find out what bus they're going to be on. So we're trying to help the schools, and we're also trying to make sure that parents know where they are. And so the dates and times of these locations are Monday, August 1st. We're going to be at North Johnston High, Cleveland High, Corinth Holders, and Princeton High in the cafeterias. So we'd ask for all feeder school students and parents. They can come there between 1 and 7. Ms. Lawson will have her school nutrition employees there helping with applications. We also have a few demo stations, hopefully, for what we're looking to serve next year. Mr. Watson's going to have transportation staff there. We'll have also our enrollment staff there, so we can update addresses, try to get as clean a data as we can. Tuesday, August 2nd, Clayton High, Smithfield Selma High, South Johnston High, and West Johnston High. And those will be from 1 to 7. And once again, this is a way in advance to try to be proactive. So we're not where we were last year, where people are calling and saying we don't have bus, because we need to know in advance. It takes about 5 days to turn around. If you come on August 1st or 2nd, you'll know what bus you're going to ride way before we start school at the end of August. And so if you have any questions, we're going to have this stuff on our websites, and we'll be more than glad to answer that information at this time.
I would like to ask one question. I failed to acknowledge Mr. Britt. Was he okay with bi-monthly pay?
It's been voted on, Mr. Wooten.
We appreciate what your staff does, and I know we make a lot of decisions that affect your department, so we appreciate what y'all do. So I forgot to ask you that.
Just I just want to make sure we clarify. Twice a month pay, only for driver onlys.
Right. Good clarification there.
Any questions?
Any other questions?
And also clarification, $17.50 per hour for driver onlys begin July 1st.
July 1st.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, would we consider our staff that drives for the summer driver only?
We will, but they're paid under a different scale for our summer learning program that we approved at the last meeting,
Okay.
which is higher than the $17.50.
They don't want you to do that, Ms.
Okay,
Andrews.
all right, ma'am, sorry. Strike it.
Yeah.
Strike it, sorry.
All right.
We
no-
sure appreciate both of you for our child nutrition presentation and our transportation presentation. We are thrilled to have you with us.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
No, not yet. We got informal discussion. Excuse me. I have an obligation. I have been requested to bring two more things from parents. As they were discussing custodial issues, cleaning the schools, they asked a question, could students be employed to help clean the schools? And they were talking about it in terms of students that are already working. I don't know if that's possible. I just need to find an answer. And the other thing was, there's obviously some program thing out there that you can turn loose and it cleans hallways in commercial buildings.
For the shark.
I have no idea what it is. But anyway, just to say, to bring back to the board that these advisory councils are engaged in their questions. So if we can find an answer for those two things, that I could get back to them.
Are y'all, Brooks, you or Brian, can y'all answer the, and you don't have to now if you don't know it.
I'll be glad to research it. I have heard about the product that you're referencing, but I think there are some limitations to that. For example, I've heard it can only get within 1 foot of the walls. And so, but you may have more information on that. I think they're very pricey, and I think they have limitations. I'm not saying it's not something we should consider.
When you're dealing with thousands of square feet and you're sweeping, mopping, stripping, waxing floors and stuff like that, you'll deal with that 1 foot off the wall, trust me. So that is something that we could look into.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying it's not something good to look into. I'm just saying that.
I bring it just,
My area.
yeah. I just bring it because these are parents that are involved in our schools that are trying to help us find answers. And so let's explore this and let's see what kind of answer we can give them in terms of the student and in terms of, I guess, as a mechanical cleaner, electronic or, brain operated by a computer chip.
I think Mr. Moore nodded, and he said he'd be glad to research that. And I'll be glad to research the high school students being employed to assist with cleaning.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Byrd, second by Ms. Andrews. All in favor, starting with Ms. Sessoms. Mr. Wooten.
Yes.
Ms. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll. Mr. Johnson. I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. We're adjourned.